Happy Independence Day, Nigeria.
Dare you question my authority?
Whoa! Your authority means nothing here.
October the 1st, the day Nigeria lifted her chains and declared to the world, "We are free." But freedom, my children, is like palm wine, sweet on the tongue, but if not handled well, it can make even the strongest man stagger. Do you hear me well? Egbo mi dada. On that night of jubilation, when fireworks blossomed over Lagos like new stars, and church bells danced with the mosque calls, there was a scream. Ah, a scream so sharp it cut through music, laughter, and prayer. It was the sound of blood tearing through celebration, and with that scream, history reminded us, even in freedom, there are chains we cannot see. The scream came from Ìbàdàn, the city of red earth and restless spirits. There, beneath the wide sky where bats flutter like shadows of the past, a young woman lay lifeless by the old colonial clock tower. Her wrapper torn, her eyes open wide, eyes that had once dreamed of better days. The dust around her glistened dark with blood. "Ta lo se? Who killed her?" the crowd asked. "Ki lo de? Why today of all days?" The mothers wept. The drums of independence continued in the distance, but in Ìbàdàn, a drum of death had begun its rhythm. My children, is this not the way of life? When a feast is loud, the hyena uses the noise to snatch the goat. That is why we must not only dance to the talking drum. We must also listen to the silence between its beats. The next morning the streets were alive with color. Flags waved green and white. Boys ran barefoot with painted faces. Women sang songs of victory as smoke from jollof pots curled into the sky. Lagos and Ìbàdàn alike seemed drunk on joy. But Inspector Kemi Adebayo did not dance. She stood in her uniform, boots firm in the dust, staring at the body of another young woman, the second in as many weeks. Kemi was no ordinary officer. She had studied abroad, learning the ways of investigation in cold countries where snow fell like powdered salt. But her heart belonged here, in the warm chaos of Nigeria. She returned, believing she could help heal her country. Yet what she found was a wound deeper than any textbook had prepared her for, the townsfolk whispered as she passed. "Se o binrin le da ajeje duro." Can a woman stop blood from flowing? Some laughed, some doubted, some watched with silent hope. But Kemi's eyes did not waver. She bent low by the body, tracing the soil with her fingers. Each detail spoke. The torn fabric, the bruises, the way the victim's hands clutched the earth as if reaching for justice. Behind her, children still sang songs of independence. Traders still shouted in the market. The Danfo buses still honked, impatient as ever. Life moved on, as though blood and celebration were twins, born of the same mother. Kemi began her search. She walked through crowded markets where the smell of roasted corn mixed with sweat and dust. She sat in smoky parlors where men played ayo under flickering lanterns. She visited colonial clubs, where the elite sipped champagne and discussed politics, as though the nation's pain were nothing but a fly buzzing in their ears. Everywhere she went, she found two Nigerias, one draped in white lace and agbada, speaking Queen's English and pretending the streets were paved with gold. The other barefoot, sweaty, hungry, yet singing with a resilience that even poverty could not silence. And between these two worlds, the killer walked, unseen, Adewole Olatunbosun was a schoolteacher in Ìbàdàn. Tall with eyes that burned like coal, he carried in his chest a furnace of words. While others swallowed their anger with silence, Adewole released his as thunder. He wore no agbada of silk, no chains of gold. His shoes were worn, his shirts often frayed. Yet when he spoke, even the chiefs shifted uneasily in their seats. His tongue carried the weight of injustice, and the youth loved him for it. Eyin omo orile ede yi, he would shout before his students. This nation may raise a flag today, but if corruption eats its roots, will that tree not fall tomorrow? Tell me, children, can a man paint a cracked wall and call it new? The children would murmur, "No, teacher." And Adewole would slam the chalk against the board until it snapped, dust rising like the very bones of Nigeria crying out. But his fire was dangerous. The elites called him a troublemaker. The authorities called him a threat, and some whispered, perhaps even a criminal. So when Inspector Kemi heard Adewole's name in the mouths of market women, whispered like smoke that won't leave the eyes, she grew suspicious. Adewole. That one? He hates the government. A trader hissed as she counted cowries. He says too much. Maybe he is the one killing these girls, just to embarrass the leaders on Independence Day. Another spat on the ground, shaking her head. Se egbo? That teacher, he talks as if his tongue is on fire. A man like that can burn a whole city. Kemi went to meet him. The sun was dipping low, painting Ìbàdàn in strokes of orange and dust. The smell of fried akara floated through the streets, mixed with the metallic scent of rain yet to fall. She found Adewole in his classroom, the children gone, the chalkboard heavy with unfinished lessons. He stood tall, his white shirt damp with sweat, a piece of chalk in his hand like a weapon of truth. Adewole Olatunbosun? Kemi asked. He turned, eyes narrowing. And you are? Inspector Kemi Adebayo. I hear you speak loudly about Nigeria's sickness. And should I not? He shot back. His voice carried the same force as his classroom thunder. Tell me, Inspector, does silence cure fever? Or must we shout until the healers finally listen? Kemi's jaw tightened. Shouting is one thing. Murder is another. The chalk slipped from his hand and cracked on the floor. He stepped closer, his presence like a storm gathering in the air. So, you too think I kill? His voice was low now, the thunder replaced by something deeper, wounded. Do you know what it means, Inspector, to love a country so much that its betrayal feels like death in your bones? These girls that die, they are Nigeria's daughters. Why would I kill my own sisters? Kemi studied him. There was fire, yes. But was it the fire that warms, or the fire that burns? Ah, this is the danger of passion. Fire can cook yam, but it can also burn down a hut. How do we know which flame dances before us? Have you ever judged a man by the smoke and later found the ashes told a different story? Yet something in his eyes unsettled her. Not guilt, but a grief she did not yet understand. Still, her duty was clear. She told him to remain within reach, and left the classroom with the heavy silence of unsolved riddles clinging to her boots. As she walked away, Adewole's voice followed her, softer now, almost like prayer. Inspector, October the 1st may belong to the politicians, but October 2nd, that belongs to us, the forgotten. And if justice does not come, then chaos will. Every independence has two faces, one smiling in lace and champagne, the other weeping in rags and hunger. Nigeria on October 1st wore both faces, and Inspector Kemi was forced to look at them side by side. That evening, Ìbàdàn's colonial hall glittered with light. The governor's men strutted in white agbada, gold chains heavy on their necks. Women shimmered in lace and jewel as wide as peacock feathers. Glasses clinked. Politicians raised their voices in praise of themselves. "We are free. We are strong. We are united." They boomed, as if words could stitch wounds. The hall was perfumed with imported wine and stew, with laughter that rang false against the cracked walls of the city outside. Inspector Kemi stood at the edge of the crowd, her uniform stiff, her face unreadable. She did not clap when speeches ended. She did not laugh at jokes about the white man's exit. Her eyes wandered, always searching, always wary. And then she saw him, Adewale. He had no agbada, no invitation, yet somehow he stood near the doorway, plain shirt damp with sweat, his eyes scanning the room like a hawk's. The guards whispered but dared not move him. Something about his presence rooted them to hesitation. Their eyes met. For a brief moment silence swallowed the hall. Two flames, one blue, steady and cold, the other red, fierce and uncontrolled, collided without words. Kemi approached. "Why are you here?" she asked, voice low. Adewale smiled without joy. "To watch the puppets dance, to see how men who sold us yesterday toast themselves today. You risk arrest. And you risk blindness, Inspector. Can you not smell it? Beneath the perfume and pepper soup, the rot of hypocrisy." She should have turned away. She should have silenced him. Instead, she stood still, listening. Something in his raw truth struck a chord inside her chest, a chord she had long buried beneath badges and duty. For a fleeting moment, amidst chandeliers and speeches, she saw not a suspect, but a man who loved Nigeria with the same painful intensity that she did. But the moment shattered like broken glass. A scream tore through the night, not from the hall, but from the street outside. The music stopped. The governor's cup froze mid-air. Guests turned, gel swaying, agbada rustling, as fear swept through the room. Kemi was the first to move. She dashed outside, Adewale on her heels, and there, beneath the colonial steps, another young woman lay dead. Her body twisted, her eyes glassy with terror. Around her neck was tied a strip of green-white-green cloth, stained dark with blood. Independence colors. Independence death, the crowd gasped. Some wailed, some cursed. And in that moment, suspicion curled around Adewale like smoke. He was there, again, at the scene of blood. Kemi turned sharply. "Adewale!" Her voice cut like a whip. Guards rushed forward, their eyes burning with certainty. "No!" Adewale cried, hands raised. "I did not." But no one listened. I'm somber how quickly tongues sharpen when blood is fresh. Is it not true? The man who questions too loudly becomes the easiest scapegoat. And when the hyena roams near the goats, who will believe he came only to drink water? Such is the way of suspicion. Kemi's heart pounded. She remembered his words in the classroom. She remembered the fire in his eyes. Could it be? Or was this too neat, too simple? The hall erupted in whispers. "We told you. He is dangerous. The teacher has finally been caught. Let this be a lesson to those who shout too much." Adewale struggled, but the guards dragged him away. His voice rose above the chaos, echoing like prophecy. "Inspector, remember my words. If justice sleeps, blood will not stop flowing." The chains clinked, and he was gone. I need you all to know that chains on a man's wrists do not always prove his guilt. Sometimes the guilty sit free, drinking palm wine in the marketplace, while the innocent taste the dust of the prison floor. Is this not the way of the world? Adewole sat in the holding cell, sweat shining on his skin, his fire dimmed but not extinguished. Outside, the celebration continued. Bands marching, fireworks bursting, women dancing with gel that reached for heaven. But in the corner of Badan's colonial police station, freedom had a different meaning. Inspector Kemi stood by the barred window, watching him. She wanted to believe he was guilty, wanted the neatness of it. But something gnawed at her, the killings, the cloth tied around the victim's neck, the timing with independence. It all felt too deliberate, too theatrical. And Adewole's eyes, when he swore his innocence, held not the wild glint of a liar, but the wounded gaze of a man wrongfully accused. Oloren Mo, she muttered under her breath. God knows. Ah, Inspector Kemi faced the hardest of riddles, to trust the evidence her eyes could see, or to trust the whisper her spirit could hear. Tell me, children, when the tortoise smiles with clean teeth, do we know if his belly is empty or full? When the night is silent, do we assume the leopard has gone? Heronu da. That night, while others feasted, Kemi walked through Abadan's back streets. The air was thick with smoke from suya stands, and the voices of revelers carried over the rooftops. Yet in the alleys, shadows stretched long, carrying secrets. She stopped at the old colonial archives, where dusty files smelled of termites and forgotten years. By the light of a single lantern, she searched records of crimes, of names, of patterns. And there it was. In the 1940s, during the height of colonial rule, young women had also been found murdered, each with cloth tied around their throats. The case was never solved. The killings had stopped abruptly, buried, forgotten. Her heart thudded. So, this is not new. The cloth, the timing. The pattern was older than independence itself. The next morning, Kemi went to the prison to confront Adewole. Tell me, she demanded, do you know of killings like these before? Adewole's eyes flickered. Yes, my father spoke of them. He said the white men hushed it. Said a certain society, powerful men, used women's blood for strength. When the British left, that hunger did not leave with them. Inspector, can you not see? This is not one man's madness. It is a curse stitched into power itself. Kemi's blood chilled. Was he raving, or telling truth too dangerous to believe? Before she could answer, a messenger ran into the station, panting, eyes wide with fear. Another body, Inspector. This time, at the governor's own residence. The station erupted. Guards scrambled, boots thudding. Kemi's pulse hammered as she realized. Adewole could not have done it. He was locked behind bars when the girl was killed. She turned sharply, eyes burning. Open his cell, the sergeant stammered. But madam, do it, she barked, her voice sharp as a cutlass. The keys rattled, the door creaked, and Adewole stepped out, free but not yet free. For the first time, Kemi spoke to him not as suspect, but as ally. If you truly love this country, teacher, help me uncover its hidden wound. His eyes, dark with both rage and hope, met hers. Then, Inspector, let us pull the mask from the masquerade. The governor's mansion was lit bright that night, the green-white-green flag swaying proudly in the breeze. Soldiers patrolled the gates, their boots striking the earth like restless thunder. Yet behind the grandeur, fear reigned. Another girl had been killed. This time not in the back streets, not in the markets, but at the very doorstep of power. Kemi stood over the body, her torchlight tracing the green-white-green cloth tied cruelly around the neck. She clenched her jaw. It is no longer hidden, she whispered. The shadow has entered the governor's light. Beside her, Adewole's eyes burned. Kemi turned sharply. You speak in riddles. Tell me plainly." He lowered his voice, almost reverent. "This is not the work of a lone madman. It is the work of men who believe blood buys power. A society, hidden, older than independence itself." Kimi pressed deeper. She questioned servants who stammered in fear. She studied guest lists, patterns of absence and presence. Names surfaced. Names of men in Agbada, men who clapped loudest at speeches, men who shook hands with white officials leaving the country. One name returned again and again. Chief Dawu Alakija, a wealthy politician, respected in daylight, whispered about in darkness. He was a man of many faces, benefactor, leader, philanthropist. But in hushed tones, the market women said, "Dawu's money smells of blood." The next day, Kemi and Adewole followed the trail into Ibadan's underbelly. They slipped through crowded markets where the air carried roasted corn and sweat, past the rickety Danfo buses coughing smoke, until they reached the hidden quarters where whispers thrived. There, in a mud-walled shebeen, an old hunter with eyes like dying embers spoke to them. "Ah, the cloth killings?" His voice rasped like dry leaves. "You are late. These deaths began before you were born. Colonial masters knew, but they covered it. The chiefs joined, for they too hungered for power. October 1st was not just independence. It was inheritance. The inheritance of a curse." Kemi's skin prickled. Adewole's fists clenched. "Inheritance of blood." The hunter leaned forward. "Do you know the proverb? He who eats pork fat must not forget there is oil within it. These men eat from the people, and to keep eating, they spill the people's blood." That night, under the moon's pale light, Kemi and Adewole returned to the station with fire in their veins. The evidence, the whispers, the patterns, they all pointed to the same conclusion. The crimes were not random. They were rituals. But proof was fragile, and enemies had ears everywhere. As they entered the station, a letter awaited on Kemi's desk. No name, no seal, just words scrawled in shaky ink. "Inspector, stop digging, or you will join the girls you mourn." Kemi's hand trembled slightly, but she looked up, her eyes hardening into steel. "Adewole," she said, her voice steady. "We are no longer chasing a killer. We are chasing a masquerade, and to unmask it, we must step into its dance." Adewole smiled grimly. "Then let us dance, Inspector. But remember, the masquerade never forgives those who laugh at its mask." It was whispered that Chief Idowu Alakija would host a private celebration outside the city, away from the governor's glittering hall. No press, no servants, only select men of power. That was where the truth would dance. Kemi and Adewole disguised themselves. She as a low-ranking guard in borrowed uniform, he as a servant carrying crates of palm wine. They traveled under the moonlight, past rustling fields where crickets sang, to a forest clearing where lanterns flickered like trapped stars. Drums throbbed deep in the night. Not the drums of joy, but drums that seemed to echo from the underworld itself. Around the fire stood men in white cloth, their faces hidden by masks, carved with symbols older than the city. They chanted, their voices rising and falling, like waves crashing on unseen shores. At the center lay a young girl, bound, her eyes wide with terror. A strip of green-white-green cloth already dangled from the hands of one masked elder. Kemi's breath caught. Adewole's fists clenched. "He saw me," he whispered under his breath. The chant grew louder. Chief Idowu himself stepped forward, mask glistening in the firelight. He raised his hands high, speaking with the voice of command. "Tonight we renew our bond. As Nigeria rises, so shall our power. Blood for strength, silence for loyalty. May no voice ever defy us. The masked men roared their approval. Kemi's heart pounded. She reached for her pistol, hidden beneath the guard's belt. But Adewole caught her wrist. "Not yet," he hissed. "If we strike now, we die tonight." They waited, pressed against the shadows, watching as the ritual neared its climax. But then, betrayal struck like lightning. From behind them a figure emerged, torchlight casting cruel shadows. It was Sergeant Bakari, Kemi's own officer, the one she had trusted with the keys to Adewole's cell. His smile was bitter. "Inspector, you should have listened to the letter. Now you will join the offering." Kemi's chest tightened. "Bakari, you!" "Yes," he spat. "Do you think loyalty feeds a man's children? The chief gives more than your government ever will. In this country, survival bows to power." Guards seized Kemi and Adewole, dragging them before the fire. The girls' screams pierced the night, mixing with the chants. Chief Idowu raised his hand, cloth ready to descend. "Begin," he commanded. But before the cloth could tighten, Adewole broke free with a roar, slamming into the guard holding him. Dust rose. Fire sparks scattered. The girl tumbled aside, coughing, crawling to safety. Kemi's pistol flashed. One shot cracked the night, sending masked men scattering. Chaos erupted. Drums thundered. Shouts filled the forest. Masks twisted. Fire blazed higher. Chief Hodowu snarled beneath his mask. You dare defile the sacred dance?" Adewole faced him, eyes burning. "Sacred? This is not sacred. It is sickness. You cloak greed in tradition and call it power. Tonight, we unmask you." Chaos spread like wildfire through the clearing. Some masked men fled into the forest, their courage scattered. Others lunged at Kemi and Adewole, knives flashing, charms dangling from their necks. The young girl, freed, crawled into the shadows, clutching her wrists. Her sobs melted into the drumbeats. Kemi fired again. One bullet striking the ground, sending sparks across the dry leaves. Another masked figure fell, groaning. She twisted, dodging a blade that tore across her uniform sleeve. Adewole fought barehanded, like a man possessed. He struck with the fury of someone who had bottled his silence too long, knocking one guard into the fire's edge, sending another sprawling into the dust. Chief Idowu remained still, towering in his mask, arms raised as though the chaos bowed before him. "Fools!" he bellowed. "Do you think bullets and fists can end what has lasted generations? This land drinks blood. It demands it. Without sacrifice, power dies, kingdoms crumble. Even your Nigeria will wither. Then, like lightning splitting the sky, another voice rang out. "Enough, Hodowu!" All heads turned. From the edge of the circle, stepping through the flames and smoke, came Governor Adegboye himself, but not in the fine agbada of power. He wore the dark cloth of the cult, his hands already smeared red with ritual dye. Kemi's breath left her body. Adewole froze. Even Chief Idowu bowed his masked head. "Your Excellency," he intoned, "you honor us." Governor Adegboye lifted his chin, eyes blazing. "Tonight, we make history. October 1st is not for the people. It is for us. The flag rises, but behind it, we remain the ones pulling the strings. Do you not see, Kemi? Even you, loyal as you were, are nothing but a pawn." Kemi's pistol trembled in her hands. "Sir, you? All this time?" "Yes." He cut her off, his voice like iron. "Do you think your promotions came from merit alone? I placed you where I needed you. Close enough to silence threats, too far to ever touch me. Tonight you too will feed the soil." The governor stepped into the firelight, raising his own mask high. But Adewole shouted, voice shaking the trees. "No! This ends tonight. Nigeria is not your sacrifice. You hide behind masquerades, but you are men. Men of greed, not gods." He lunged at the governor. Guards surged forward. The fire roared higher, smoke choking the air. Kemi aimed, finger tightening on the trigger. But her mind screamed, "Shoot the governor, or die by his men." The night became madness. Drums thundered, owls shrieked from the forest, and the earth itself seemed to tremble with the weight of history. Kemi's finger hovered on the trigger. Her heart screamed, her hand shook. Governor Adegboya sneered. "Shoot me, Inspector. But know this, your bullet will not kill me. It will kill your career, your family, your life. Nigeria does not punish men like me. Nigeria bows to them." The cult roared with laughter, their chants echoing through the trees. Chief Dawu raised his staff. "Enough talk. The girl. Bring her forward again. Let the sacrifice seal this night." 2 masked men dragged the rescued girl back, her wrists bleeding, her voice hoarse with pleas. She looked straight at Kemi, eyes wide, silent question trembling within them. "Will you save me, or watch me die?" Adewole, battered and bleeding, staggered to his feet. "Kemi!" he roared. "If you don't act now, this country dies with her. Fire your bullet. Let history remember us as those who chose the people, not the masters." The governor's eyes narrowed. "Kill him," he ordered coldly. Blades flashed. Guards surged forward. In that instant, Kemi made her choice. The pistol cracked. Once, twice. The sound split the forest like thunder. One guard dropped. Another fell, blood painting the dust. The young girl broke free again, scrambling toward the trees. But the third shot. That one was for the governor. It struck him square in the shoulder. He staggered, mask slipping from his face. Blood spilled down his agbada. The masquerade was broken. Chief Idowu screamed with rage, tearing off his mask. His face glistened with sweat and fury. He lunged at Adewole, knife raised high. The teacher fought back, fists raw, eyes blazing. The 2 men clashed like fire and iron, grunting, striking, choking in the dust. Kemi fired again, but her chamber clicked empty. The pistol was spent. Sergeant Bakari rushed her, knife gleaming. "Traitor!" He spat. The blade slashed. Kemi gasped, blood blossoming across her side. But with raw will, she wrestled the knife from his hand and plunged it deep into his chest. His scream shattered into silence as he collapsed. The drums faltered. The cult faltered. Fear spread among them like disease. The governor, clutching his wound, shouted hoarsely, "Stand your ground! Do not fear one woman! She cannot kill us all!" But his voice no longer carried the weight of a king. It trembled. It broke. The cultists looked at one another, doubt corroding their faith. Adewole finally overpowered Chief Idowu, slamming him into the fire's edge. Flames licked his cloth, his screams twisting with the sparks that rose into the black sky. Silence fell. The cultists scattered into the forest, their chants dying in the distance. Only the crackle of fire and the ragged breaths of survivors remained. Kemi fell to her knees, clutching her wound. Adewole stumbled beside her, his body bruised and torn. The young girl returned, trembling, eyes wet. She fell at Kemi's side. Ese Gannan. You saved me." Kemi smiled weakly, pain clouding her eyes. "Not me. Nigeria saved herself tonight." Above them, the flag that had been tied for sacrifice, green, white, green, caught in the wind. It rose, billowing against the smoke, stained with ash and specks of blood. Dawn crept slowly over the forest. The fire had died to embers. Ash floated like tiny ghosts in the wind. Kemi sat against a tree, her uniform torn, her wound wrapped with a strip of cloth from Adewole's shirt. pain racked her body, but her spirit stood firm. Adewale crouched beside her, exhausted, his hands blistered from the fight. The young girl rested between them, head on Kemi's lap, at last asleep. The governor had vanished into the night, carried away by loyal men. His blood stained the soil, but his power remained intact. Chief Idowu was gone too. Ashes scattered, his name already turning into a curse the forest would remember. But the world beyond the forest, it still danced to the governor's tune. Kemi whispered through cracked lips, "Adewale, we stopped them. But at what cost?" The governor still breathes. "Tomorrow they will erase tonight. They will call us traitors, criminals, or worse, liars." Adewale looked at her, eyes heavy yet shining with quiet fire. "Maybe. But remember what we saved tonight. That girl, countless others, and ourselves. Nigeria's story is not written in one night. Even lies cannot silence the truth forever. Truth is like smoke. It always finds a way to rise." He paused, then smiled faintly. "Kemi, do you know the proverb? The one who does good will not fail to receive good. Perhaps not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but one day." Kemi closed her eyes, tears slipping down her cheeks. Not of defeat, but of the deep weariness of one who has seen the weight of her land. The sun finally broke, its golden rays piercing through the trees. The forest no longer looked cursed. It looked alive. Birds sang timidly. The morning breeze swept the ashes into the air. The girl stirred, opening her eyes to the light. She whispered, "I thought I would never see the sun again." Kemi managed a smile, her voice a whisper of steel. "The sun always rises, child, even after the longest night." The three survivors, Kemi, Adewale, and the young girl, walked slowly out of the forest, their bodies bruised but their spirits unbroken. Behind them, smoke rose, carrying with it the ashes of lies and betrayal. Ahead of them, the horizon glowed with the promise of a new day. Villagers they passed looked at them strangely. Some offered food, water, a cloth for Kemi's wound. Others turned their faces, afraid of the whispers already spreading. By the time they reached Ìbàdàn, the governor's story had already taken flight. The radio sang only of his survival, his heroic escape from rebels. The names of Kemi and Adewale were never spoken, their deeds buried under speeches, their courage erased by ink. But among the people, among the people, it was different. Mothers whispered the tale by firelight. Fathers told it in the moonlit courtyards. Children carried it in their songs, their clapping games. The night the masquerade burned, they called it. The night the flag was stained with blood but still flew. Truth, like smoke, had found its way. Kemi returned quietly to her post, her uniform pressed but her spirit changed. She worked, but no longer with blind loyalty. Her eyes now saw beyond the desk, beyond the salute. She knew the system's rot, but she also knew her duty was to protect those who could not protect themselves. Adewale went back to his school. His students noticed the new fire in his eyes. His lessons were not only of arithmetic or grammar, but of truth. He taught them proverbs their fathers had forgotten, wisdom their mothers whispered in secret. And the young girl, she grew into a woman whose laughter carried into markets and festivals. She lived, and that was victory enough. Children never forget. Independence is not given once. It must be taken, guarded, renewed, every day. For what is freedom, if those who rule in daylight also kill in the night? Tell me, what use is a flag if it cannot shield its children? He who knows the truth must speak it. He who hears the truth must remember it. and he who walks with the truth must carry it as his firstborn.